This is Jaron over at SnowTechMX. I get a lot of questions on how to tension a belt on our SnowTech Adrenaline snow bike kit. So I'm going to do a quick how-to video, and I'll post that up and you guys can use that to tension your belts. So first you have to remove the bolts from the cover. A lot of people ask why there's so many bolts. The short answer is that's part of the framework for the belt, and that's part of what makes our drive system work. This is my kit. As you can see, I tagged a pretty big rock the other day. Let me go grab a mallet. Sometimes these get stuck. All right, I have my mallet, so I'm gonna tap this lightly. It'll come right off. There's our belt drive. So we put this together, a month ago, and I haven't pulled the cover to do anything. So a lot of times you'll get some dust in there. The belt sheds a little bit, it's no big deal. You get some minor scuffing, that's normal. So this is basically what it should look like. If you have the Gates belt, you'll have some blue. This liner likes to wear off a little bit. It's normal during a break-in period for the belt. So just dust it out with a brush and carry on. So I'd like to point out our belt cover, super tough. This thing will take a hit. That belt cover right there, still fine to run. I'm going to continue to run it through the year. I nailed a boulder on a sideways run. I was going to jump it, and there was about a foot of snow on it, but it was super fresh, and I cleared about 3 or 4 feet of the rock off, and still alive. Kind of beat up, but it's all good. I'll probably replace the bolt. I'll check the threads, maybe take some of the burrs off, but really the integrity of that's still fine. So see right here on this edge, that it's important that that edge be sealed. It doesn't have to be watertight, it just needs to keep snow out. Alright, this is Jake, one of our shop dogs. He's just dying to get in the photo and say hi. Okay, so there's a couple things you need to do to kind of keep an eye on it. A lot of people expect some major things. There's really not much to do to it. The belt and the pulleys are paired very well, and they wear for a long time. So the things you need to watch for: loosening bolts. This one in particular, and this one. Those are your main bolts to hold the bushings onto the axles and the drive shafts, and those need to be tight. If those walk out, you'll get some wear on some parts. We need to get you some new parts. Next thing, we've got some torque specs on those, so just call us and we'll give those to you if you ever need them. So the actual tension, you come to this part of the belt and you look at that, and it holds a straight line all by itself. Okay, so it has tension on it. If you turn this sideways, I can move that in easily, back and forth, 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch. I can push, and I can touch the back side of that pulley if I really push on it. Not a big deal. It really doesn't hit or anything. So that should have that much tension. You can see that it's back and forth. It stops. It has a definite back and forth, a definite stop. If you really get crazy, you can push it farther, but you don't want that. So easily wiggle it back and forth, and that's about right. So back and forth, 3/8 of an inch. It'll feel somewhat like chain slack. It'll just back and forth and it stops. Okay, if you add more tension to it, you're basically taking away the belt's ability to do its job. You're wearing it out prematurely. So Don't do that. It just puts pressure on the drive system. It's unnecessary. These belts, we run Mitsubishi and Gates. We run only the carbon fiber, so if you run anything else you'll run into problems. That carbon fiber does not stretch, so that's why we can run these like we run them. If you run them too tight, again, you'll just have problems. So if you need to take it off or adjust it, we have this bolt, loosen that, and this bolt, loosen that. Alright, so everything on this is metric. All the bolts and everything we've tried to make metric, so you shouldn't have to have a standard wrench of any sort. Now this right here is a 10 millimeter. Go ahead and put a 10 millimeter open end wrench on the back side, as you see there, and then loosen that. Okay. From there you'll have an 8 millimeter socket head cap screw. So go ahead and loosen those and we can get this off. So as you can see, I pulled that bolt all the way out and I rotated that backing plate up, and now I can just pull that belt off. Okay, just like that. Now on these belts, make sure that you don't ever kink them. If you kink it tighter than that pulley, you'll damage them and they'll break. So they're pretty much indestructible unless you do some things like kink them. If you put them in your bag, make sure you use big loops like that. That's okay right there. You can put that in your backpack, a tote, but just don't ever go tighter than that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up just a little bit, just to get the dust out. You know, make sure everything rolls good. That bearing's still in good shape. The shafts are tight. Make sure that you don't have anything loose. You know, that runs properly. You've got your grease zerks. Now would be a good time to put a pump of grease in there. Check your chain tension. Okay, your chain should have about a finger under there. You know, well, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Pretty good rule of thumb there. If your sprocket starts to wear, we can sell you this updated sprocket. So you have your pulley teeth. You can go ahead and inspect those. Inspect your idler, inspect your final drive, inspect all your threads, all your installed permanent nuts. Okay, give it a good once over. Okay, when you're putting these back on, you want to make sure all the teeth are properly engaged. Okay, so some people will do that on accident and then they tighten it up, and then what happens is it slips a tooth or something will happen there. So be careful, make sure that you've placed that in and you have 100% engagement all around the pulley. Okay, same for the bottom. So there it is. Just gently put it on, run my fingers around it, seat the belt. Okay, now I can take that plate, I snugged it up, and I can loosen that up, drop that down. Now that's an eccentric idler. It's on a cam, and especially designed for this. It's part of our patent application and it works really well. You don't have to have any super special tools. You don't have to do anything crazy. You can use just basic hand tools. You do it on the mountain, do it at home, and you can adjust that. See that though? It's on a cam, so just with the slight force of my finger, you can see that go actually from just right to way too tight. So if you feel like you have to push on that very hard, you're probably going way too far with it. Okay, so this is how that eccentric idler works. It has this locking system in the back, splined. So generally it's going to go together with this being in a straight line. Okay, if you need a little extra adjustment, which for some reason some people do, it's not normal. If you do, you might have a shaft wearing or a bearing wearing or something changing the distance between the pulleys. But if you do need that extra little bit, you can take and rotate that one spot, and now you've got more adjustment. So that's how that's designed. It's lightweight, it's efficient. It goes on just like that. Okay. Alright, so I've put that back in. I've put a little blue Loctite on that bolt, and I'm going to put my belt on. Oops. Remember not to kink it. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. There we go. Okay, so I've put a little tension on that bolt just so it'll stay in place. Check, make sure the belt is engaged properly. Really double check everything. And put that down there. Kind of check the tension a little bit. Snug that just a hair. Again, I'm doing this one-handed, so looks pretty good. All right, so this socket head cap screw is going to be about 35 foot-pounds. This M6 bolt is going to be about 50 to 55 inch-pounds. So that's going to be 4 or 5, 6 foot-pounds. Don't go too heavy on it, you'll strip it out. So your M6s are about 55 inch-pounds. So when I hit that on that boulder, it bent this bolt pretty good. You can see it kind of wobbling. Makes it so it doesn't line up very well. Threads are all still intact, but they're kind of a U in that. I'm going to go ahead and replace that bolt. It's cheap insurance here. A very inexpensive bolt to save the threads on the inside of the panel. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, make it look a little nicer. Alright, so I cleaned that up a little bit. When I hit that rock, it ovaled that hole out just a little bit. And I say rock, it was a 8-foot tall boulder that I tried to jump the side of, but it won. I haven't had to do anything to this, but it took a bite out of it. So anyway, clean up the hole, made sure it's nice and round and through again, and we'll go ahead and put this back on. Okay, now I want you to notice this has an edge guard on it, a really nice one. It fits around the edge down here. Okay, so in order to get this on correctly, you need to put this on first, up to there. Okay, start with the bolts down at the bottom, hand tighten them in up to the top. Don't tighten them yet, so wait till all of your bolts should go in. They should all go in just by finger tight, and then torque them down. Alright, so I've got those in. Again, start from the bottom and go to the top. A lot of people like to do bolts in a star pattern. There's really not a need for that. In this particular cover, it's actually better to go from the bottom to the top because it'll actually lay that cover out and stretch it out versus kind of creating some stresses inside of it. So it's not a head to a motor, so you don't need to do that. Again, just start from the bottom, go to the top. Alright, so you torque these down. Some people like to use a torque wrench. Should be about 50 to 55 inch-pounds. Again, remember inch-pounds. That's also a 6mm. That'll snug that cover down. Go over them a couple times just to make sure everything's settled. You don't want to lose a bolt, and if you do lose a bolt, there's plenty to cover for the next one. So just to sum this up, we've gone ahead and taken the belt cover off, pulled the belt, inspected the bearings, inspected the bolts, made sure everything's in good shape, and retensioned the belt. Remember, you take the belt, it wiggles back and forth about 3/8 of an inch. You can feel a pretty definite stop to it. Don't over tighten it, it will cause damage. Make sure that you check your shafts, make sure that you check your bearings and your bolts. As far as recapping on the torque specs, the 8mm socket head cap screw, it's actually a 10mm M10 by 1.5, but it's a 8mm Allen wrench. That goes to about 35 foot-pounds. You've got the M6 by 1. It's a 10mm socket, both front and back. That goes to about 50 inch-pounds. And then you've got around the cover M6x1 bolts. Those go to 55 inch-pounds, and again, remember that's inch-pounds. And then go over those a couple times, tighten them down, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching this video. We'll have more tech videos on the way. I know it's taken a while to get a few of them out. Sometimes it takes some practice just to see what people want to hear. Things that might be obvious to us here might not be as obvious to you. So if there's any information that you need or would like to see, feel free to email us at info@snowtechmx.com. Thanks for watching this short how-to video on tensioning and maintaining your belt drive system on your SnowTechMX Adrenaline snow bike kit. Thanks, we'll see you next time.